everyone, I'm Bedi from GQ India. Thank you for joining us to unveil the cover of a very special autobiography written by a giant of Indian entertainment. An actor, storyteller, and the original crossover star, he cut a dashing figure on screen and stage for most of the second half of the 20th century. Khoon Bari Mang, Octopussy, The Bold and the Beautiful, Sandokan are but a few in a long line of unforgettable roles. Along with being a consummate performer, he's also lived a very rich and colorful life, never quite following the norm. And now he's bearing it all in his evocative memoir, Stories I Must Tell, The Emotional Journey of an Actor. Please welcome the very suave Mr. Kabir Bedi.
Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you so much for that lovely and kind introduction. I'm
Hi.
so happy to have GQ and you hosting this event of the unveiling of my book. And it's a very, very special moment for me, a very, very special occasion in my life. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Congratulations on the book, and thank you for giving us an early look at it. You've led such a fascinating life.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, the book is my life story. It's told with honesty and with raw emotion. It's about my career on 3 continents. It's about women that I've known and loved. It's about the great glories I've seen as an actor. It's also the great setbacks and tragedies that I've suffered. And it's also about my beliefs and how my beliefs have changed over the years. And it's about my making, my breaking, and my remaking. It's how I finally found fulfillment. It's the story of the emotional roller coaster of me as a man and an actor.
Indeed. It has been a joy to read your journey, and I have so many questions for you. But shall we unveil the cover first? And for that, we have another guest joining us. Would you like to introduce him?
It is my pleasure to introduce a remarkable man who it is my honor to call my friend. A man who has helped more people in the industry than anyone knows. A man who has the biggest heart in the industry, and a man who is India's biggest box office star. Salman Khan.
Thank you, Kabir sir. Thank you so much. It's
Thank you so much for agreeing to do the cover reveal of my book. It means a lot to me.
And now, since I will have enough time in this lockdown, I'm going to read this.
Please do. Please do. It'll be a great way to read the book, make the best use of the lockdown, and as well, I think it'll give you many insights into my book, into my life. Although you know me well, I think many things in the book will surprise you because I bared my heart, I bared my soul in the writing of the book.
And what a beautiful heart and what a beautiful soul.
Thank you. Thank you.
What a beautiful face. What a handsome man.
That's a beautiful cover reveal. Thank you so much, Salman.
You know, I've had this here since the last week, and everyone who's come home, they've just ogled. They just looked at your photograph and they're all mesmerized. I mean, there's just no words to this. Like I was saying, कि ऊपर वाले के साथ आपको ऐसा लगता है कि पिकासो ने भी बनाया ऐसा एकदम chiseled एकदम.
Thank you for that. Much appreciated. Okay, I need you to stay there. Don't leave us, because now I'm going to do the cover reveal, and then I'll come back to you.
Okay.
There's things I want to talk to you about. That's the cover of my book. And this is the smaller book. Here it is, my labor of love, the story of my life, stories I must tell, the emotional journey of an actor. This is the one that will say it all, do it all, and I absolutely look forward to everyone reading my book, enjoying it, and knowing the story of my life. This is the story of my life.
And it's incredibly well told.
So can you hold up the book?
Yeah. Right here.
Yes. That's the one. How wonderful it is to have you and me, same shot. It's a very special moment for me, Salman. You can't imagine. You can't imagine how special this is.
So we should do a movie together now, sir.
Anytime.
It's been such a long time that we worked together.
Right. So let me ask you, is there anything that you most want to ask me about my life?
So your journey, from where you came, how you started, what was your first break?
वो तो बड़ी लंबी कहानी है. I'm a middle class Delhi boy who was working for Doordarshan and All India Radio. The Beatles came into town, and I somehow, through sheer grit, determination, and a bit of smartness, we got through to them. I was the only Delhi journalist that got through to them, and I did an interview with the Beatles. They, All India Radio, didn't realize what I'd given them. Staffers there, "Kaun Beatle jaane," and they put it on without any fanfare, and it absolutely broke my heart. And at the same time, I'd applied for going abroad on television. They also let me down because they said I'm a freelance, not eligible to go. So I decided enough is enough with Doordarshan and television. I thanked them for all they had taught me about filmmaking, and then I made my way to Bombay, determined to be a filmmaker. And I started my career with Lintas and Ogilvy and Matha as film chief, which I was for 5 years in advertising. And then I did this play called Tughlaq, and it led to film offers, and my film career began. Then Sandokan began, all those things which are...
Sandokan. Sandokan. The best thing ever. I was just watching a trailer of Sandokan. And you looked smashing. You looked smashing. My God. And then after when you came back to India and I saw your film, Khoon Bedi Maan. Yeah. And in that, you were so awesome in that movie.
This was one of my most successful movies, yeah. But, mentioning Sandokan really was the series that changed my life, because I went to Italy and the series made me a star in Europe. It broke every record on television viewing. The streets were empty when it was screened. And whenever I went out, as you know, as a star of the scene, the streets are full of people wanting to reach you. And I was very saddened that, India never saw it. So I actually gave it to Doordarshan for free. And they showed it. They showed it with a very big announcement. And it was shown in India. Still, millions of people still saw it. But I think people never realized how big was my success in Italy. With the crowds that I'd seen, the fans screaming, girls screaming, "I want to have your baby," and all this kind of stuff. So now, when they read my book, I think they'll get an idea of what that success meant in Italy, in Europe, etc.
I've seen it. I loved it. I saw it. Yeah, we used to have a VHS of that, and we saw it then. It was fantastic. Fantastic.
And I remember giving you the DVD of that too, and you were there when the DVD launched. You were there for my big birthdays. You've always been there at important occasions in my life, as you are today. Anything else that comes to mind that you'd like to ask me?
So now what?
Now what?
Now the life journey starts now.
Absolutely.
Now, after this book, and there is hardly any change apart from the long hair. There's hardly any change in the way you look. Now what?
Now my acting career continues on 3 continents, as it has for a long time. I always feel that Bollywood never gave me the roles that I merited. Bollywood can still give me roles, and I can still do some great performances. I look forward to Bollywood, but my work continues abroad. But also, this book has opened up a whole new dimension of writing for me, because I was wanting to write this book for 10 years, and eventually I got down to it in the pandemic, hammered it out, working with enormous determination. got it done, and I managed to get Westland, a wonderful publisher, to publish it. So I really got the best of all worlds right now, and I hope that takes me further. And I still think that, I've spent many years in Hollywood, and I think there are things to do still in Hollywood. I remember doing The Bold and Beautiful there. I remember doing the James Bond film there. Both of them gave me worldwide fame because each have tremendous film franchises around the world. And that helped. But nobody knows about fame more than you do. I remember talking to David Hasselhoff when he was doing Knight Rider, and I watched him in the course of this series become a megastar. So I said to David, David, how do you handle the pressures of stardom? He said, Kabir, I can handle the pressures of stardom. It's the pleasures that give me the problems.
The pressures come because of the pleasures.
That too. So, what has caused you more problem in stardom? Pressures or pleasures?
Both of them.
Comes with the territory. Let me just say that you have become a major star because you've not only done great performances, but you've had the knack of choosing films that work, films that rock at the box office. And I'm sure that intuitive gift of choosing the right projects also comes from Salim Saab, who's one of the greatest.
100%. And from the movies that I've seen, growing up as a child, if when the audiences come out of the theater and they want to have a boyfriend like him or a brother like him or a son like him, the film is a big hit. They just should want to be connected with, for example, Prem. They want like a husband like Prem, a boyfriend like Prem, a son like Prem, a son-in-law like Prem, a brother like Prem. So once that character comes in, and the film is a huge success. So I just keep that in mind, that when the audience come out of the theater, they should feel that ye ladka, I can get my daughter married to him. I can have him to be my son, or a son, you should be like this guy. I'm not talking about me, but I'm talking about the character. I've had problems with the marriage bit, so I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Prem, that they should want to get married to someone like Prem. And and also the people that I relate to it.
Somebody can relate to. Somebody you must be able to relate to in some way at a human level. Can you tell me something about Radhe?
So Radhe, now we were going to release Radhe on, we still are trying our best to release Radhe on Eid, but agar ye lockdown agar aage tak chalega, so then we might have to push it to next Eid. But if it opens up and the cases and people do take care of themselves and they wear their masks and keep their social distancing and take good care of themselves, don't go out, don't break any of these laws that the government has put on us right now, I think this will die off really soon. And if it does, then we will have Radhe back in theaters and Eid. But if this, if the citizens don't listen and these corona cases grow, then it's not only a problem for the theater owners, but problem for all the daily wage workers. It's just going to be a really bad one, like the way it was earlier. So I think everyone should take this really seriously and see that we've killed this coronavirus and we move on in our life before it kills us all.
मैं तो चाहता हूँ कि लोग शराफत से कानून का पालन करें ताकि ईद पे रिलीज हो और बात सबके लिए अच्छा होगा.
Most important thing is फिल्म इस ईद पे नहीं आएगी, तो जैसे लास्ट ईद का कमिटमेंट था कि हम आ जाएंगे ईद पर, फिर ये कोरोना हुआ तो फिर उस वक्त हमने ये कमिटमेंट कर दिया कि अगली ईद पर आएंगे. बट इट इज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट इज ये पिक्चर रिलीज तो हो जाएगी. और by the grace of God अच्छी बनी है, चल भी जाएगी. But important ये है कि people should not get corona, and especially people who have a condition already, and
Right.
and so parents and grandparents who are not surviving this should not happen to them.
Well,
Bad.
we have to look after ourselves. I've taken my vaccination shot. We should all wear
I have
masks.
also taken it.
We're in a very difficult time, and I feel strongly that this is a bug we should overcome through collective discipline
जी,
for the benefit of all.
जी,
I must say one thing, that for all the people who have suffered, who I feel deeply for, I put this pandemic to the best use possible because I wrote the book in this time,
जी,
and and I hope that people get a chance to read the book in this time as well, because it is a time of being, trapped indoors, and I have a story to tell, and I hope they have now found more time to read that story.
जी. No, and your personality, sir, as a star, as a human being, you're such a pure man, such a pure man. So whatever come out in this book will be straight from your heart and from your soul.
It is,
So
I have my best.
it's just going to be all honest. It's going to be your journey, and it's going to be a beautiful book. It's going to be a beautiful read, and I'm sure a lot of people will learn from your experiences.
I hope so.
And
I hope so, because I've shared a lot of the glories I've seen, but I've also told of the mistakes that I've made, and I hope everyone benefits
that is the
from.
most difficult, and that is the most difficult thing, to own the mistakes that one has done. Everyone denies that. Here, I'm one person sitting right in front of you. I will say, ye maine nahi kiya." But if you have said कि अच्छा ये मेरे से ये गलती हो गई है और फिर मैंने उसको ऐसे सुधारने की कोशिश की है, then that takes a lot of courage. A
Yeah,
lot of courage. There's
I,
sometimes that I have made mistakes. I've come and said sorry. Mistakes do happen, but then repeating the same mistakes again is
yeah.
not okay. Yeah. So I mean, this is when you write a book, the most courageous thing is to go look deep inside your soul, and when you're writing it, ye likhu nahi likhu, ye likhu nahi likhu, and then you say, no, to hell with it. I'm going to just be honest to myself and honest to everyone, and I'm
Yeah.
going to write the honest truth that what all has happened with me.
That's the journey that I had to go through. And I've explored many things in this book: career, successes, triumphs, failure, love, relationships.
This is something that I should learn from you, sir.
Well, I've been married 4 times. You haven't even got to the first base. So, yeah.
Yeah.
There's things.
I'll try one first, and then we'll see.
I hope you enjoy reading it.
I will. I will start reading it today. Start reading it today.
Anyway, I'm so grateful to you for coming and sharing this wonderful
Thank you, sir.
moment
Thank
with
you,
me,
sir.
and
Thank you.
about my book. And I can't wait to hear what you think of what I've written about. And if there's anything else you want to talk about, I'm here. But for now, I just want to thank you.
No, I'm just as soon as all this is over, I think we should have dinner together, sir.
Yep, sounds
Yeah.
great. We'll have
As soon
another
as lockdown is over, we should definitely meet up and have dinner together.
once more. Thank you for that. God
Thank
bless you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for joining us, Salman. Kabir, this is a stunning portrait on the cover. Do you want to tell us the story behind it?
That is a very special photograph. It was taken by a very special man. These days, Annie Leibovitz is the most well-known celebrity photographer in the world. In those days, it was Terry O'Neill. And Terry O'Neill was a man who had shot the Beatles, Pink Floyd, Elton John, royalty. Everyone wanted a picture done by Terry O'Neill, and he agreed to shoot me. So he took this picture, and he said to me, Kabir, I've taken a lot of pictures, but this one is really special. And I really kept it in my archives with me. Wherever I went and traveled across the world, it was with me. And then when it was time to choose the picture for the book, my wife Parveen said, that's the picture you should have on the cover of your book. So I chose it, and it became the cover of my book.
That's incredible. Roughly what year is this?
This was shot in the late 70s when I was in my early 30s.
Hmm. Glory days.
Uh, well, I'm still in my glory days. I don't think I will stop the glory days in my mind, because
Correct.
life can be glorious at all ages, at all times.
Absolutely.
Uh, but it does give you time to reflect on things and think about things. And that perspective of wisdom that time gives you is what I've brought to my book, because
Mhm.
I may see myself more dispassionately um, as years have gone on.
Mm. Absolutely. So then let's cycle back to the origin story of the book itself. What prompted you to start writing it?
You know, I had this book inside me for a number of years, and for the last 10 years, I was sort of making various attempts at it. There was a story churning inside me, but I didn't know how to tell it. And then early in last year, I started getting hints and flashes of how I could do this. And when the pandemic started, I realized I knew how I would want to tell the story. And the minute I knew that, it just flowed like a river. And I sat down and wrote it in 6 months flat, then 2 months revising it, and then I had the book that I wanted of my story. And I didn't like the linear form, because I find the linear form quite boring. So I did it as a series of stories that overlap each other in time, but taken together form the story of my life. And it's much more interesting that way, because it gives me the freedom to explore each theme well and tell it interestingly. I hope people like what they read.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's definitely very emotional to even read it, and I do totally get that point about it not being linear and therefore more interesting. And you've talked at length about your personal life and relationships, about Pratima and Parveen Babi and Siddharth, and so much more. How challenging was it to be this candid and vulnerable on paper?
It's always difficult to write about things that are in the past. And I said to myself that when I write about women that I've known and loved, and relationships that I've had, that I must be as sincere as I can to the truth of what happened. And there are a lot of things that you want to leave behind, but it's all part of my life. And so I've shared it with everybody, because it was a very important part of my being vulnerable, my being honest, my reaching out to my truth and telling the truth of my stories. So it wasn't easy, but I had to do it. And at the end of the day, it was almost cathartic.
Lovely. That's great. Um, there is the Kabir Bedi that the public knows, the Kabir Bedi that the public thinks it knows, and the one that it has no idea about. Such as the guy who hustled his way into an interview with the Beatles, such as the person who is the son of freedom fighters who've turned into spiritual leaders, and indeed the guy who thinks of himself as an introvert. So, were there stories that you wanted to tell but had to leave out?
Of course, there were many stories I had to leave out because of the form I chose, and also because if I put all my stories in, it would be 1,000-page book. So maybe there's a sequel somewhere. But I did have to tell the story of the Beatles, because that's what was a turning point in my life, how I beat the entire press corps of Delhi and somehow, through sheer grit, determination, and smartness, got through and got my interview with the Beatles. I had to talk about my parents because they were such remarkable figures, from being freedom fighters and my mother being a handpicked satyagrahi of Gandhi to becoming the highest ranked Buddhist nun in the world. Um, and my father going from being a communist to a philosopher in Italy, and yet the relationship between them remaining extraordinary. Those are stories I had to tell, because firstly, they're part of my life, but secondly, because they're such fascinating human stories. Even if they weren't my parents, I would have to tell it. And the Beatles, of course, changed the course of my life. It was led to incidents and tragedies, actually, that forced me to come from Delhi to Bombay, which began a whole new phase in my life in advertising, theatre, and then finally film. It's all there.
Mm, indeed. Now, there's almost a cinematic quality to the narrative in this memoir. Would you like to see the book or parts of it adapted for the screen?
I hope it will be adapted to the screen. I hope it makes a wonderful series in the right hands, here or abroad, because it is one of those stories of India and an Indian in an international sphere, in a career that crosses 3 continents and has stories of Hollywood, Bollywood, London, Rome. So it covers the world. I've proved that all the world's a stage, and my life is a living example of that, as well as all the emotional experiences I've had across the world, from, from women in my life to fortunes going up and down, to discoveries, and even ultimately being knighted by the Italian Republic as Cavaliere. So it's quite a story in terms of the graph it covers, from my earliest days in Delhi to finally returning to Bombay, yet working across the world.
Mhm. Mhm. Incredible story, definitely. And Italy, speaking of, has figured prominently in your life story, as a source of much success, fame, and happiness, which sort of started with the phenomenal success of Sandokan. What is
Yeah.
your fondest memory of Italy?
Italy has always played a very special part in my life. It's what opened the doors to the West, and the career in the abroad for me. Um, the, I have so many incredible memories of Italy, but I think the fondest has to be the aftermath of the success of Sandokan, where the streets were jammed with fans in Via Veneto, the crowds that welcomed me across Italy, girls screaming, "I want to have your baby," and all those kinds of things that stars see. It was a great feeling for a middle class boy from Delhi to achieve this kind of success. But Italy has so many other lovely memories for me. The beauty, historic beauty of their towns is extraordinary. The cuisine they have is absolutely marvelous. And as Praveen and I explored when I lived in Rome for 2 years, about 12, 13 years ago, it's just exploring the inner cities, finding little churches that warm your heart, these wonderful little streets, seeing the starlings forming these incredible patterns in the skies above Rome, finding springs, hot springs to sit under, going to the wineries, and just feeling the warmth of the Italian people. Uh, I'm so grateful to them, and they have given me some of my greatest memories in life. And I am so grateful for their honoring me as a knight as well.
Yeah, that sounds beautiful. I have a little bit of FOMO. But also, we have some questions from our viewers as well. Fabio writes, Sandokan set the start of your international career, as you said many times. But I would like to ask you what your thoughts are on this character. What are your feelings on this iconic figure of 19th century Italian literature?
Sandokan was sort of like almost the Robin Hood of Italy, but it was set in a context of an Asian pirate fighting British colonialism. And in a very strange way, Nidhi, the story of Sandokan almost parallels the story of my father and mother, because both of them fought against British colonialism. Both of them married British girls. Both of them gave up so much in their lives when they could have had so much more to follow the passions that they believed in. I mean, my parents met in Oxford. They could have come back and got the best civil service jobs in India, but they gave it up all to be part of the freedom struggle. Um, Sandokan was a prince. He didn't need to sacrifice everything and join the freedom struggle with his people. So many parallels of Sandokan and my parents. And Sandokan sort of represents every man's desire to be free, to be able to do his own thing, to live for the ideals you believe in, to care about your people, all those things. And I think the success of Sandokan came from the fact that it was set in this mystical East. And we shot it in Malaysia with the most incredible blue skies and green jungles and just a setting of the Orient, you know. So Sandokan was a wonderful creation by Emilio Salgari, who wrote these books, which were read by everybody in Italy, across Europe, even the great Latin American writers, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Carlos Fuente, all these people had read, even Che Guevara had read Sandokan many times in their childhood. And he's quite an iconic figure. And it was the greatest honor in the world for me that Sergio Solomon, the director, picked me, an unknown Indian actor, to play the lead in his European series.
Wow. What a story.
That's the story as to how it happened. It's all in the book.
Yeah. Rajiv Setia sends congratulations and wants to know what difference you found in between Hollywood and Bollywood as an actor.
Well, it's a very different culture, especially in those days, because in those days, the film industry in Bollywood was largely a small family firms that built close relationships with stars and did business on a sort of very informal basis. Hollywood has always been more corporate, always been more formal, always planned much longer, always prepared much longer, but shot their films in short times. Here, we shoot our films in the longer times, but we have become more corporate. So there is a convergence that's happening. But at the end of the day, Bollywood will always be more innovative, more improvising, and more informal than Hollywood could ever be.
Nice. So there's also a lot of curiosity about whether the book will be available as an ebook and as an audiobook. What can you tell our viewers about that?
And of course, it'll be available not only as a beautiful hardback, but also as a Kindle edition, as an ebook, as well as an audiobook. And pre-orders for the Kindle and hardback can begin today on April 7th, and the audiobook will follow shortly. But I think it'll be a great experience in all mediums because I believe I have an interesting story to tell. I've told it as interesting as I can. So I'm most grateful. I'd like to quote the words of a great writer called Doug Murano. He had tweeted once, I'm tired of the under 40 lists. Give me a writer with calloused hands and tender heart who writes from a lifetime of suffering and love. And I'm saying, I'm your man, Doug. I've written from a lifetime of suffering and love, and this is a book with a man with calloused hands and a tender heart.
And eternal optimism.
And eternal optimism. I'm the eternal optimist. The best is always yet to come in my book.
As always. Lovely. Thank you so much, Kabir.
I must say, I'm very grateful to the entire GQ team, Alex Kuvila, Korean, yourself, and everyone who made this broadcast possible.
Absolutely. It's always lovely to have you with us. Thank you so much for your time, Kabir, and good luck with the book. We're all looking forward to it. And we're looking forward to having you at a GQ party very soon. Take care.
Thank you. That's always something to look forward to. And now you can look forward to the trailer of the book. I'll give you a few more ideas about the book and why you should read it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Like what you see.
In my heartfelt autobiography, I bare my soul with emotional honesty, with stories about affairs and anxieties, milestones and mistakes, and successes that made India proud. Stories of heart-wrenching setbacks and how I survived the roller coaster journey by making, breaking, and remaking as a man. Stories I Must Tell is an emotional experience. Be the first to read and talk about Stories I Must Tell. If you pre-order, you will qualify to join me in a social media chat about my life.